Okay. I know it's been a long time. It's been a long time. I've been working. I've been depressed. Don't come at me. I know it's been a long time since I uploaded a video. But here we are. We're here making another video, and to me that's a win. So what do I have for you today? We're gonna talk about my favorite licensed palettes and basically all the licensed palettes that I have, and I'm gonna rank them from however many I have, the bottom to the top, which one is my favorite. It'll be of no surprise that they're pretty much all Colourpop. I think they're all Colourpop. So if you are interested in hearing about which of Colourpop's licensed palettes that I own are my favorites and my least favorites, then keep watching. The palette in my bottom spot is going to be of no surprise to anybody because this is like everybody's least favorite licensed palette that Colourpop's ever done. It's the Candy Castle Candyland whatever collection that they did. Now, when I tried this for the first time, it was in one of my BoxyCharm videos, and I did not hate it. I didn't hate this, but it wasn't great. Like, it wasn't the most beautiful thing, amazing thing that I've ever tried. Like, I was super attracted to this because of how pastel and pretty it looked just in the pan, and I think because the palette itself just has a really pretty aesthetic to it. I was interested. I tried it. It's not terrible, but it's not their best formula. A lot of the shades, specifically the shimmer shades, like barely show up. The yellow and the green, like a lot of the pastel shades are just kind of meh. The more neutral shades are fine. There's just a lot of satin shades in here, which is like the matte with the shimmer in them. Not a big fan of that formula, but it's an okay palette. It's okay. It's definitely my least favorite licensed palette they've ever done, but it smells like candy, so I guess there's that. My next least favorite, this is, I guess, how many are there? So 1, 2, 3, 9. There's 9 in total. So number 8, the Candy Castle one was number 9. Number 8 is the Hello Kitty Snow Much Fun palette. This is the one that they did for Christmas last year, or like holiday time last year. Looks like this. It's really pretty. Like, I like the way that this palette performs. It's just kind of a not very inspired color story. I do really like this deep berry color at the bottom here, but other than that, these are all just kind of shades I've seen before. This middle row is the most unique thing, and then both of these rows kind of just look the same. Yeah, it's okay. Again, it's all right. It's just not their best thing ever. Yeah, I really like the middle row, or column. I like the middle column, but yeah, the other two are just meh. But the packaging is super cute, super cute, and I actually really like the 2 blushes that came in this collection. Those were fantastic. I'm trying to go a little bit quicker because a lot of my videos end up being like half an hour long, and I'm just tired of editing for that long, so we're gonna speed through things a little bit. Next, we have number 7, and that is the Disney Designer Collection. This is the first one that they did. It's a Princess Thing palette. I actually do really like this palette. It's so pretty. I love the design of it. I love that all the princesses are on the front of it. I love that all of their like signatures are on the inside, and this palette is actually quite beautiful and performs very well. It's just neutral. It's just a very neutral palette, and for me, neutrals are just like a dime a dozen. I've seen neutral palettes. I have a whole bunch of neutral palettes, so for me, this isn't really anything special. There are a few shades in here that are like amazing, like absolutely beautiful. I love this Fairy Godmother shade. I love all of the neutrals on top. They're all beautiful. The shade Poison Apple and Magic Carpet also perform beautifully. Like, I really have no qualms with this palette. It's a gorgeous palette. It's just neutral, so that's why it's more on the bottom, but I do really love it, and this whole collection was fantastic. I have their like lipsticks, like all of the princess lipsticks, and those were beautiful. They picked like the perfect lipstick for each princess. Next, we have another Disney one. This is the Frozen 2 Anna palette. This is in spot number 6. This is a beautiful color story. I actually really love it. My only issue with this is that the yellow and the purple, when mixed together, sometimes will just come out really muddy and brown. Like this purple, when I put it on, sometimes just doesn't show up really purple. It shows up more brown, especially when I pair it with the yellow, but that makes sense because they're complementary colors, and when you mix the two together on your eyes, it can turn out brown. So you just have to be kind of careful with the placement, but otherwise I really like this as a fall palette, especially around this time of year is when I'll usually pull it out and use it. I also don't like that there's a pressed glitter in the middle. That could have easily been changed to something usable, but the color story is beautiful. The qualities of the eyeshadows are great, and I love the theming. Frozen 2 is one of my favorite Disney movies. I watch it all the time and sob my freaking eyes out. I love the design of this palette, the beautiful little Anna picture on the front. The color story is gorgeous. Yeah, I like it. It's number 6. My next one is a bit of an interesting one because it's only so high up, and it would be even higher up if they're, yeah, it's the Midnight Masquerade palette. I love this. It's what I'm wearing on my eyes right now, but there's a bit of a funny thing happening here because when I bought this with the intention of buying 2 shades from METIONED to replace the 2 glitters in here because I absolutely hate pressed glitters. I will not wear them. Unfortunately, I blew on this palette earlier when I was applying it and I got glitter like all over me from these 2 shades. I just at this point need to remove them and throw them away because I'm never gonna use them. But I did get 2 shades from METIONED to kind of replace those 2, and I tried to pick colors that were as close to these 2 as possible so that way I could use those in place of these 2 because they're actually really beautiful glitter shades, but I just hate applying glitter to my face. They're like literally 2 shades in here that I can't use. I've talked about my disdain for pressed glitters before. I'll show you quickly the METIONED shades that I got. So these are the 2 right here. I got Turret to replace Floating Lights and Sunbeam. Yeah, Sunbeam to replace, what's the name of that shade? Royal Ball. I got the Sunbeam to replace Royal Ball, and Sunbeam is the one that I have in my inner corner, and Turret is the one I have all over the top of my lid. So absolutely gorgeous shades. They work really, really well with the rest of the palette. I actually took a picture of the palette all swatched out, but in place of the 2 glitter shades, I swatched these 2. So I'll put that as a picture up somewhere so you can see how the palette looks. So I'm basically like halfway gauging the palette based on the 2 replacement shades that I got for it, but also not at the same time because I'm trying to judge it at least a little bit fairly based on just the palette itself in case you want to buy it for yourself. I just really love the way that this palette performs. The design of it is really interesting and pretty. Again, I love that they have the design of the princesses in the actual palette in the packaging rather than on the outside box that you just throw away and recycle. But the color story of this is very interesting. It's something that I haven't really seen from Colourpop before. Like I've seen it since in palettes that they've come out with after this one, but this one, the first of it was like pretty unique. This row in particular at the end, the blue, the green, and this like really shimmery duochrome, like green champagne color is beautiful. Oh my God, it's so beautiful. The top row of neutrals and this duochrome pink white is gorgeous. I just really wish that these 2 glitters didn't exist and they were actually usable shades. That way I wouldn't have had to buy 2 METIONED shades to replace them. But now I have 2 METIONED shades that work really beautifully, and I was able to get this absolutely gorgeous, divine look that I'm wearing right now. So I'm happy with this in my 5th position. Number 4, we have the Star Wars Mandalorian The Child palette. This one is super cute. I went back and forth when this came out being like, oh, should I get it? It looks a lot like the palettes that I already have. Is it worth getting this? And let me tell you, it was worth getting this because it is absolutely beautiful. I like using this in the springtime because of all of the beautiful green colors, but this also really works for the fall, I'm finding as well, because of this deep brown. So you can like take any of these green looks and really deepen it up with that brown in the corner. Yeah, it's just a really unique palette for a green palette. I think they did a fantastic job with the color story of this. It's very Star Wars, like it makes me think of Baby Yoda or Grogu or whatever his name is. I haven't actually seen season 2 of The Mandalorian. I watched the first season like as the episodes were coming out, and then I totally dropped the ball on season 2. But this is a beautiful palette. I love the color story. I'm obsessed with greens. For the past like year, I've been obsessed with greens. Like this, specifically this like sage green color that this palette has going on. It's like one of my favorite colors at the moment. It's so beautiful. And he's just so cute. He's just so cute. They really just hit the nail on the head with this palette, and I like that they came out with this as just one palette with nothing else in the collection. They just let the palette stand on its own without anything else, which I think was a great choice. So yeah, I love the color story. The palette performs superbly. There's no pressed glitters. There's one satin shade, which is the one that is the matte with the sparkles in it, but it's fine. I'll forgive it. It's okay. There's 2 Super Shocks, and I really love their Super Shock formula, so I'm happy that there's 2 Super Shocks in here. Yeah, gorgeous palette, very well deserving of the number 4 spot. Now I know I said I don't like palettes with pressed glitters, and all the other ones that have pressed glitters in them have been like lower in the list, but I just love, love, love the color story of this next palette. It's so unique and it works really, really well. I've heard mixed things about it, but for me it works really, really well. But maybe I'm just stubborn and I'm insisting on it working well for me. But that is the Frozen 2 Elsa palette. I love this. Of course I have both of them. Anna and Elsa, of course I have both of them. But this color story, when I saw it, I was like, that is one of the most interesting color stories I've ever seen. I know we talk about the neutrals with a pop of blue a lot, but this has like blue and red in it, and it just screams Elsa. And Elsa is my favorite of the two sisters. I love both of them, but Elsa is my favorite of the two. I just relate to her a little bit more. Definitely more of a hermit in the woods type, leave me alone type. Yeah, I love this. I'm not even like that mad at the pressed glitter because I have used it just along my cheekbones before as like an addition to my highlight, and it works pretty well. It's just annoying to try and take off at the end of the day and be careful with, because you don't want that stuff going down the drain because it's really bad to get into the water supply. So yeah, it's just inconvenient. I like it, but it's inconvenient. But the rest of the palette works beautifully for me. I really love the color story. The blue works really nicely. This red, these two reds are pretty similar. That's the only thing I'll say. Because on the eye, this doesn't come out as pigmented as you might like it to be, though you can build it up. But really, when you apply them on the eye, these two colors end up looking pretty similar. This one's just a little bit brighter and more red. This one is more of a deep wine berry tone. This silver is wild. This silver is the most silver eyeshadow that I have in my collection. It really shows up as a true silver, and there's something super unique about it. So yeah, this palette is just a big win for me. I love it. It's number 3. Number 3. Number 2, I didn't expect to like this one as much as I did, but I got it and I swatched it out on my arm, and you can just tell when you swatch out a Colourpop palette when they've used the good formula. Like, you know what I mean? You just touch it. It's like that same formula that they used for the Through My Eyes palette with I Love Sarah He. That is probably the best formula that they have ever had. And this one, I'm pretty sure, is using that formula because it felt the same. Like all of the shadows had the same soft, buttery smoothness. The metallics were just perfect. The mattes were pigmented and beautiful and soft. Perfect. And I was very surprised. I used it and I loved the look that I made with it. It's the Colourpop and Malibu Barbie palette. This is a beautiful palette. I really didn't expect to love it as much as I did. It's gorgeous. This color story does absolutely scream Barbie. I'm not even mad about how many neutrals there are in there because they're all very different from one another. The only qualm I might have with it is that there's no deeper shades. The bright poppy colors apply beautifully, perfectly even. Yeah, this is just their really good formula that they used for the Through My Eyes palette with I Love Sarah He, and that is one of my favorite Colourpop palettes, and this is now one of my favorite Colourpop palettes because I love it. I can live out all of my 70s ABBA dreams with this palette. It's very summer leaning though, so right now it's just not my vibe because I love to dress with the seasons. But potentially, if I feel like deepening out a look, I can use the brown. It's a beautiful palette. Really love it. The theming is on brand for me. I love Barbie. I have loved Barbie since I was a kid. Part of me still really wants to buy Barbies, especially the ones with the big dresses, like the nice holiday Barbies. I've always wanted to have like a collection of Barbies with the big dresses that were still in their boxes and just displayed, but it like conflicts with the side of me that's like, I don't want to own that much stuff, you know? But I appreciate Barbie from afar. I do. And I've taken to drawing Barbies and their dresses and stuff, so that just kind of, it helps with my desire to own Barbies. So this is just a beautiful palette. This is number 2 for a good reason. It's so good. And finally, my number 1 licensed palette. It's gonna be of no surprise to anyone because I've talked about it before as one of my favorite Colourpop palettes. The first Colourpop palette that I ever bought because I just loved the theming so much. And that is the Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon palette. I know a lot of people didn't like this. They thought that they could do more with the color story, but I really loved this. I thought it was really on par and on brand with both Colourpop and with Sailor Moon, because when I look at this, I don't really think of like the Sailor Scouts and their costumes and stuff, I think of the environments of Sailor Moon, because a lot of the environments in the 90s cartoon were very pastel, a lot of pinks, a lot of purples, a lot of like creams and beige, and just really like unsaturated pastel-y like colors. So that's what I think when I think of this. And I love it. I really, really love it. I think it works well. All of the colors show up really, really nicely. I have a particular fondness for it because it's the first Colourpop palette that I ever ordered. And it's the palette that got me into Colourpop and back into makeup, because I used to be into makeup like a long, long time ago in like 2012, and then I fell off it for years and years and years, and then this got me back into it. So this is the reason I have my channel, this palette. So of course it is #1, and also the packaging is just perfect. This packaging is just so good. Definitely part of the reason it's #1 is because of this beautiful packaging. Like, it's so funny. The rest of the collection is also gorgeous. I have most of it. I think the only thing that I don't have from this collection is one of the glosses. The whole collection is just banger, just whole thing banger. Anyway, that's the end of this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that this gave you a little bit of an insight into the licensed palette world, and if you liked any of these, I hope that they are still available, and hopefully the next video won't take as long to upload. Hopefully there won't be as much of a gap between this video and the next one. I have a whole list of videos that I need to go through. It's just been hard to get the motivation to actually sit down and talk to a camera. Depression's great like that. So thank you so much for being here today, and I will see you in the next video.